Phenomenal. That is pretty much the word I'd use to sum up season 9, episode 2, Do No Harm. The only misstep was the Sabrina Rich crap. I mean, yes, I know it was just a brief conversation between Sabrina and Maurice over the phone, but it's just the start of a storyline I feel is going to be one of my least favorites through season 9, and that's Sabrina going through a Danny arc. What I mean by that is she's going to act like Danny did back in like what, season 5 or 6, the hot girl summer bull crap. I I'll talk about that crap later. I don't really want to address it because this episode, I just have to say the writers, the actors just did great. I mentioned this during the live stream last night, which we had a great time, by the way. If you didn't join the live, it's up on the channel. You can watch it pretty much after every episode airs on Wednesday. Within 5 to 10 minutes of the episode ending, I'll hop on YouTube Live to discuss what we just saw. And yeah, it was just crazy because at this point, we've gone years slash seasons of being frustrated with Karen and this entire pregnancy storyline. But for all of that frustration to shift from Karen to the circumstances she's in due to the negligent doctor and nurse. What is it? Nurse Janet and Dr. Cruz. It's just something else because of how real this situation is, unfortunately. So yeah, I'm giving this episode a 9 out of 10 with the 1 point being deducted because of the Sabrina Rich crap. But other than that, just a great episode from start to finish. And the promo for next week, check out my trailer breakdown for the next episode, Having Faith. That looks like we're going to continue the drama. It's not slowing down anytime soon. But before we get into the episode breakdown, and it's really self-contained. Outside of the opening scenes where we have the characters stuck in traffic, everything pretty much happens in the hospital, whether it be in Karen's hospital room or in the waiting room. And yeah, we're probably going to be here for several episodes. But make sure you take a moment to hit the thumbs up button to show you like the video. Follow me on social media. Links are in the description below. Hit that notification bell and select all. That way you're up to date when I post content on the channel. And most importantly, we just hit 295,000 subscribers, meaning that we are now less than 5,000 people away from 300,000 subscribers on this channel. And my birthday is August 29th. It's a bit of a stretch, but I believe it. I believe that we can do it. Based on the percentage of people who watch my content, the majority have not subscribed. So if you're watching this video, there's a good chance you haven't hit the button. So if you want to help me out and help me reach that milestone before I turn 34 on August 29th, hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Trust and believe, it will do wonders. And since we hit that milestone of 295,000, I will be pushing for it. So you will hear me saying 300K a lot in these videos. And with Sistas back and the hype being, as high as it is right now, I know we can do it. So let's jump into I would say let's jump into the episode, but I don't want to jump into that bad traffic. ATL blackouts, folks. Now, I made a joke last night. I said, dang, that traffic is more backed up in ATL right now than the lines at Popeyes when they first dropped that chicken sandwich. But then somebody on Twitter is like, Jeremy, you must have not ever been to ATL because the traffic's always like that. If it is, I'm glad I haven't been. Well, technically I did go once when I was, it was the summer before 6th grade. My uncle lives down. He doesn't live in Atlanta, but he lives like on the outskirts of, town. So not close, not far from the city. And I technically did go into ATL for a little bit, but it wasn't like, oh, I have all these memories of it. No, but essentially, traffic that bad. I love that I live in a small town. So Andy and Zach are stuck, and Zach is concerned and wonders if, based off the voicemail Fatima left, or voicemails Fatima left, should they be concerned? Now Andy's like, oh no, let's not jump to conclusions. I mean, it could be just one of those things where it's normal for pregnant women to go through this. specifically those having twins. But Zach makes a good point in that, listen, I don't want to jump to conclusions, but based off the way Fatima sounded on the phone is not good, because it takes a lot for that woman to sound as worried and shaky as she was. And that just is a testament to how well Zach knows his woman. And that's a very good point. So we go over to Danny. She's, just mad at the at the traffic. So is Sabrina, who's on the phone with Maurice. And ironically enough, there's a car wreck she notices, and there's a person behind her honking the horn, cursing her out and whatnot. And then Sabrina's about to get out of her car, and then come to find out Danny walks up to her, and that's the person behind her who's been laying her out. So she gets back into her car, and yeah, just briefly, and I'm not going to talk about this too much. She's, talking about moving on, because apparently Rich is still blowing up her phone. Bro, leave her alone. Just leave her alone. And she's in the mindset of, based off of how quick Rich and Penelope hooked up, I bet there was something going on between them for a long time now. And I'm just going to move on. I'm tired of wasting my time on the wrong men and this, that, and the third. I don't even want to harp on this. I will do a separate video. But essentially, I don't really know what Sabrina is getting at here, because in terms of wasting her time, she only uses men for their resources. Calvin for his emotional support, Jacoby for his appendage, Bio for his money to get Maurice out of jail. Rich was supposed to be long-term, but then, sperm donor, but when his sperm was defective, she opted for another guy. So no, just Sabrina, shut up. I don't care about this. Now, over in the hospital, Aaron and Lisa are just concerned because, Karen is seemingly getting worse, from, vomiting continuously. And then she thinks she soiled herself, but Lisa checks it out, and no, it's because she's bleeding. There's no bodily fluids outside of blood. So they really need somebody to come up in here. So from there, we get Fatima running into Andy and Zach as soon as they get there, because they don't know where to go exactly. And she gives them an update on Karen's condition being, just bad. And the fact that she's getting little to no attention from her doctor. And the thing is, they ask, like, well, what about the doctor she's been, going to ever since she's been doing her routine checkups? But the thing is, with all the blackouts and whatnot, they're short staffed. And I got him in my notes as Dr. Dismissive, not even Dr. Cruz. So that's when Danny shows up and talks to the nurse at the front desk, the one who's just been as, rude to her as Fatima. I believe her name is Nurse Janet, though, because that's what the other nurse labels her as. So, she catches an attitude with Danny as well as Fatima. And it's been like, 2 hours since anyone has come into the room to check on Karen. And that's when that other nurse comes in. And, well, actually, Fatima finds her, the same nurse that was helpful to her in the last episode. And she mentions how certain demographics don't get the proper medical attention in this hospital by certain doctors and nurses. And I just love how you have a person like this in a workplace like this, because it just goes to show that in some case, and we later see this with Dr. Vaughn as well, you have people who want to do things the right way. It isn't about gender or color or whatever. This person has a job, and that's to help and heal, not judge or be biased towards. Yet they're so low on the totem pole, they can only do so much. Obviously, this woman doesn't rank as highly as a Dr. Cruz or whatever, but she just does what she can where she can. And, that's really, and that sucks. But at least she's there to assist in this situation, because of the fact that, Karen is in desperate, need of some sort of help. Now, she does say that at this point, there can be no more than 2 people in the room. And, everybody goes to the waiting room. I think Andy and Danny stay in there with Miss Lisa for a little bit. And she goes around to try to find a doctor. And Andy promises Lisa, because Miss Lisa is just upset. And she looks to Andy, given her legal know-how, that given the circumstances of Karen getting lackluster, if non-existent medical attention, that I'm counting on you to sue the hell out of this place if anything happens to my little girl or these babies. And from there, Zach and Andy stay in the room, and they both mention how they've never seen Karen this fragile. And that's saying a lot. Man, that really is interesting, because it's like when they were in the car and Zach mentioned how something must be wrong, because for Fatima to sound that concerned, nah, something must be up. And now both of them are seeing Karen in this fragile state. So over in the waiting room, everybody's sitting there and they're just upset about the fact that Karen has been given little care whatsoever. That's when Sabrina pops up and learns what's going on. Karen does wake up again, and they, Zach and Andy try to tell her to rest, in order to, conserve her energy. That's when the doctor shows up, and Zach and Aaron just go off on him, because the fact that, yet again, he's so dismissive, just rolling his eyes, not even listening to Karen's wants and needs in the moment. Oh, this is just normal procedure. Don't even worry about it. But I need you two to leave the room so I can examine the patient. And that's when Karen tells him it's okay, just go. And yet again, he's just like, oh, it hurts. Oh yeah, I know. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then that's when Aaron and Lisa go back in the room to see if they can make sure that Karen is being not just cared for, but listened to. And he just gives them more of the same old dismissive crap, and he says, oh, she's at 6 right now. We need her to be at 9, but I'll go ahead and get the pain meds and everything. And it's like, he's just running down this list like it's routine. And I get it, you're a doctor, but to just say it without any sort of urgency is what's getting on everybody's nerves. And they're like, oh yeah, you mean in a couple minutes? Yeah, every time somebody said that, an hour or so passes before anybody else comes in here. So he quote unquote reassures them that everything is being taken care of. She'll be fine. So that's when Fatima runs into Dr. Vaughn and asks to check on Karen. And he goes and gets an ultrasound done. And that's when he's asking Karen questions, and she mentions that, I came in, my last appointment was 2 weeks ago and everything was fine. So he looks at the ultrasound, and Karen, can I see my babies? He looks at the nurse looks at him, and he's like, I need to go talk to Dr. Cruz real quick. What's wrong? I want to see my babies. And that's when he runs into Cruz in the hallway and gives him an update on Karen. And this is when Sabrina is walking around and overhears the conversation from around the corner. And there was only one heartbeat, so one of them is a stillborn. And in a situation like this, we can't just wait for her to give birth, as soon as she's at 9 inches or whatever the case is. I forgot. She's at a 6, but she needs to be at a 9. But Dr. Cruz, again, doesn't care. Is like, no, he's more concerned with Vaughn stepping on his case, if you will. Like, Miss Mott is my patient. And it's like, well, look, we have a job to do, and you're telling me to risk her life, because if she doesn't get an emergency C-section right now, there's a good chance her and the other remaining child that is alive could both die. And he doesn't care. He doesn't care. And all the while, Sabrina's breaking down, and Sabrina goes to tell the girls. Now, interesting conversation during the live stream last night, because everybody is handling this situation differently. I mean, all the characters are rightfully pissed off. But the thing is, for me, I'm like, Sabrina needed to dial it back a bit. She came up in the waiting room just yelling and upset about, what she had just heard. But I also take into account the fact that who wouldn't freak out if they overheard the news that their friend not only lost one of the babies, but there's a good chance that if she doesn't get the proper medical attention soon, the other child, as well as your friend, is probably going to die. And I'm thinking like, ooh, she should have just not said it as loud, because eventually that's when Fatima and Zach show up, or Zach shows up and he overhears what happens. And we know how Zach gets when he, gets emotional. So the girls are freaking out over the fact that one of the babies is dead. And it's like, yeah, I overheard Dr. Vaughn talking to Dr. Cruz, and Cruz just doesn't care. If nothing else, he spent more time scolding Vaughn as opposed to rushing to do anything for Karen. So from there, man. From there, Andy will use her resources to help out. And like I said, everybody's doing what they can. You know, Sabrina's freaking out, but she's relaying this information to the girls. Andy wants to move Karen to another hospital using her, you know, connections and whatnot. And that's when Sabrina calms down like, look, no, we can't. It's a rolling blackouts, Andy. What are we supposed to do? And the thing is, some people are like, oh, why did Andy keep saying she was going to take Karen to another hospital? There are blackouts. But that just goes to show that in situations like this, it is very realistic for everybody to react differently. Because some people are like, why didn't Danny stay in the room with Karen longer, this, that, and the third? What was staying in the room going to do? Because Fatima and Danny were out there on the front lines, you know, going off until they found somebody that was actually trying to help out. Sabrina was relaying information that honestly she shouldn't have overheard because, you know, what was it called? I forgot. HIPAA violations. Somebody's going to correct me in the comments. Please do. I forgot. Hippo? No, it's not hippo. HIPAA? Whatever. But yeah, somebody mentioned like, why are they discussing that openly in the hallway and somebody can hear? Yeah, that's true. But it's plot convenience. And then you have like Andy wanting to use her resources because, to be honest, at this point, it's kind of a heads or tails. Let Karen stay in this situation where her doctor doesn't care and she dies. Move her out of this hospital to a hospital that cares. But what's the use? There's a good chance we might not make it to another hospital in time due to the blackouts. And then with Zach, he overhears the situation, and that's when they tell Fatima, you know, breaks it down slowly about one heartbeat, so one baby didn't make it, and then he starts breaking down. And then that's when eventually you have Dr. Vaughn going back into the room just to tell Karen about the update of the ultrasound, but then he leaves and Karen breaks down crying. So the thing is, Dr. Vaughn can't do anything else. And I like this setup here. You got Andy and Sabrina rushing to him, and Sabrina's like, yeah, I overheard about the ultrasound situation. Is there anything you can do? She needs a C-section. And then this just leads into the damning situation Dr. Vaughn is in. Like, what did he say? He's like a 4th-year resident, and Dr. Cruz is, you know, above him. And legally speaking, there's really nothing I could do because I could lose my job. I could lose my license. The patient has to be the one to make the formal complaint and then switch over to, you know, another doctor. That's the only thing I could do. And what I liked about this situation is you have Sabrina, who's realistically begging. And then you have Dr. Vaughn, who wants to do more, but he calmly explains, like, I can't do anything because it's against the law. But luckily you have Andy there, who is a legal expert. She takes in what Dr. Vaughn is saying and then pulls Sabrina back. I just like this because, like I said during my live stream, everybody reacts to this news differently. You have a person who's begging Dr. Vaughn for help, and in real life you have another person ready to cuss him out. It's like, if you don't do it, my friend's going to die. Well, then you have a level-headed person like, he is helping by telling us what we can do. Okay, so what we need to do is calm down, go talk to Karen to see if we can get this sorted out. Like I said, I just like how you have all these characters playing a role, because if they were all in the room the entire time, what would that accomplish? Nothing. Side note, when Danny and Fatima were in the waiting room, she asked, like, so who's watching after Michael right now? And she mentions that, oh, he's with his aunt and we alternate, you know, schedules with keeping him. So it seems to me that his aunt implies that Heather has a sister. And I'm just going to throw this out here because I don't know the full details. And this is what I like. You have just a one line of dialogue that explains somebody's absence. And I like that because it acknowledges this character still exists. This is why they aren't on screen right now. But I'm guessing Heather's sister must be someone more stable than Heather. Because if I were to take an educated guess, I think that even though Zach won custody, perhaps Heather on her legal side of things, was able to work out some sort of arrangement where she could still be part of Michael's life, but it wouldn't be through her directly, but someone on her side of the family that actually, is capable of watching after a child. So I think those conversations were had off screen. And I actually like that, because I always said it would be cool at some point if Heather actually got her act together and could at least see Michael on occasion, because given that Zach knows what it's like not to grow up without a father and to grow up with a, mother who was absent, he wouldn't want his son to grow up the same way, even though his mom was anything but a fit mother. But if she slowly but surely got her act together or earned some sort of visitation rights, that would do some good. So yeah, I'm glad to know that Michael is in good hands right now with his auntie. So to finish things up, Vaughn comes in the room talking to Karen, Aaron, and Miss Lisa about the stillborn situation, and breaking it down how it's most likely she lost a baby within the past 24 hours, and he encourages her to be strong due to the fact that we can at least try to focus on saving the one child you have left. Then that's when Andy tells her about how you need to give verbal consent to switching doctors, and then Dr. Cruz comes in, and she's breaking down. Obviously, she's still in an emotional just frenzy right now because she lost one of the babies. And that's when she eventually does say to swap doctors. So then Dr. Cruz leaves pissed off and then tells Vaughn, well, she's all yours, but don't think this is over. And then that's when the nurse says, hey, only 2 in the room, and just please go to the waiting room instead of staying out in the hallway outside of the door, because, they'll look for any reason to get you out of this hospital. Pretty much saying like, hey, now that Dr. Cruz got swapped, you might want to just kind of back away for now, because they'll probably nitpick and try to find any reason to kick you out of here. So then we have the situation of, with the C-section and whatnot, who's going to be the 2 people in the room. But for now, she just wants to talk to the girls, Andy and Sabrina, and pretty much make them promise to take care of the baby if she doesn't make it. And if it comes down to it, if there's a chance to save the stillborn baby, and it's either the babies or her, to pick the babies instead of her. And as she's trying to make them promise, she flatlines. And then that's the end of the episode. And that was like, man, because reading the BET.com article last week, where it pretty much spoiled the events of the episode, I was thinking like, yeah, she's going to flatline when the doctor's in there and about to do the C-section. But no, it's actually when the girls were in there, and that's insane, that they would do that right when her friends are at her side. Lord have mercy, can you imagine if Zach was in that room? Whew, he'd throw a fit. I mean, remember how he acted when he was outside of the burnt salon, and it was speculated that she was gone. But to actually be in the room with her, oh, hell would have broken loose. But yeah, folks, this was just a solid episode. Great acting all around. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What did you think of this episode? Like and subscribe, and I'll catch you all in the next one.